Welcome to another episode of the Lone Recruiter Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Clemens, and if you're a recruiter out on your own or just lacking general guidance or mentorship, you've come to the right place. Our episodes are designed to give you the motivation, the advice, and the strategies you need to become the very best recruiter. Join us, grab a cup of coffee, let's take your desk to another level. Now today, how do you build a rapport with a candidate quickly? Okay. There's no straight answer to this, right? Because every individual is different. Everyone's motivations are different. People have a perception of recruiters, or they might be really open individual. They might be a really closed individual. Our job as recruiters is to build that trust as quickly as possible so that we can help them. We all know that when a candidate's open and receptive, we can give them better advice. We can help them get to where they want to get to quicker. It's when they're closed that's a really difficult and it's a frustrating process, right? Because you know there's so much more you could be doing. There's so much more information you could give them. But if they're a closed book, then I feel it just becomes tough. I don't think they get the best out of us and vice versa. We can't do the best for them, right? So really as a recruiter, your goal is to build that rapport really quickly. Now, beyond some of the obvious things, having a good reputation, or having a good level of experience, or providing a really nice service, or things like that. I mean, they all feed into it, right? But when we get on the phone and we're talking to an individual, you can build a rapport very quickly. And you've probably got some amazing tips and tricks that you do for yourself. But for me, it's actually just about empathy and compassion. And that might sound really wishy-washy and fluffy, and I don't want you to turn this episode off just yet. But let me explain what I mean by that, and it might make some sense to you. I'll give you a quick backstory. I was just down grabbing this coffee for this episode, and the baristas was like, "Oh, hey Brett, how you going? What's up? What's the plan for the day?" And I mentioned that, got work, but then I got to leave early, Savo, because kids have their annual school concert. And they laughed and went, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, my kids are 10 and 8. And I said, they get up and do some dancing and they do some acting, and then the teachers do a thing, and then all the other classes, it's a big thing. Like it's great, but it's also like, it is, a long evening. And then I added, and then they're doing it Thursday night as well. So they're doing it 2 nights in a row, the exact same concert. We've got to be there for both. And they laughed and said, "Oh, that's torture." And I said, "Look, it is, but it's important to them, so it's important to me." And they went, "Oh, that's really nice." But I said, "But that's the gist of this episode, right? If it's important to them, it's important to me." And I think that's totally transferable to leadership. If you've got staff or you've got juniors, and your life is busy, you're managing, you've got a desk, you're billing. You might go and have XYZ stresses in your life. And when a staff or a junior member comes to you and tables their problem, and you've got to help them with it, how many times do you look at it and go, "That's not a problem. Like, that is such a small issue in the grand scheme of things. Why are we even having this conversation?" It's happened to you 1,000 times. I know it. But that's totally unfair, because I do believe that problems are all relative. People have a certain capacity to deal with a certain volume of problems. And the converse happens too, like celebrations. Someone might be celebrating something minute. I was, talking about kids tying their shoes. We're like, "Yeah, you learn how to tie your shoes." It's great because it's a new skill for them. But in the grand scheme of things, like, they'll be celebrating much bigger things as they get older. And again, if you're looking at staff members, and they come to you with a celebration or a win, maybe they've had a breakout month, and you look at it and go, "That's just still nothing." What do we do, right? We have to meet them, our kids or our staff or our candidates, to their level, basically to their level of celebration, and meet it with empathy and compassion. And so what I mean by that is, if they come to you with this celebration or this problem and you just dismiss it, you're not being helpful. You're actually being quite condescending. And it's not fair, right? No one's walked your shoes before, so they can't be expected to do what you do or be who you are. You're who you are because you are who you are, right? So just because their path is different and they've got different problems or celebrations that might not be perceived in your world as big or as big as what yours are, it is to them, right? So the point of this is, right, I'm taking it from, how do you parent to how do you lead people, but I can actually apply this to candidates as well. When a candidate comes to us, it's usually because they've got a problem. They've either they want to move jobs, right? I don't like my boss, or I need more money, or this person said that, or I'm not enjoying this, or I've just been let go. Whatever it is, it's a problem we've heard 1,000 times, and I bet you, as a recruiter, it's hard for you sometimes. Sometimes you have to bite your tongue, because sometimes the problems that come to us are very average, and you go, well, I can help you with that. I can resolve that problem, but we need to make a very sure that we're not condescending or dismissive of any issue. And I think to bring it back to the point of this episode is like, how do you build a quick rapport with candidates? It really is deploying empathy, compassion about every single problem or celebration that they've had in their career or that they're discussing with you about why they want to move. And I know you know this, but sometimes it's nice to crystallize it and to just say, it's not being fake. It's actually just being empathetic. It's actually being compassionate. If someone comes to you and says, this is my problem, and you think, that's not a problem. You need to think, oh, that really sucks. Tell me how that makes you feel. And they say, oh, it makes me feel, you go, oh, that's a real shame. And it's not something you can resolve. And, that's more kind of, compassionate met with questioning and how can we help and maybe, keep you there? It's like, no. And, I've spoken to my boss and, that can't be resolved. It just doesn't seem to be a solution that I can find here. So therefore I need to move. Okay, well, let me help. And you'll be surprised at how quickly when you use that sort of terminology, you get a candidate on board. Empathy and compassion. Oh, that's a shame. When I bring you a celebration, you go, man, that's amazing. Is that the best you've done, or was that the biggest job you've done? How good is that? Do you want to do more of that? Yeah. Do you want to push further, or are you really happy there? Because that's a pretty good achievement. Oh, I wouldn't mind going a bit bigger. I reckon you could do it. You know what I mean? Just come at it with support, compassion, empathy, enthusiasm, and then some advice comes in after that. And that's where the recruiter comes in. So once you meet them at that level of excitement or dismay, you've got this permission to then try and solve that problem. But until then, you're just a recruiter pushing your jobs and pushing your agenda. You really need to understand what that push-pull or what that excitement or disappointed feeling is for them and really help them see that you understand it and get it. And hopefully you are, humans are all compassionate. I think we can get caught up sometimes in deal making and our own excitement, and you really need to leave that at the door when it comes to recruiting, because you forget recruiting and candidates are coming to us. They're always in an inflection point. They're looking for a new job, but there's almost always something else happening in their life. Family, relationships, moving, house, location, diet, health. There's always something else that's triggering. There's always a couple of things, right? So just be super conscious. Empathy, compassion with your candidates. You're going to build that rapport real quick. It's going to unlock and open up those doors so that you can give that great advice that you have as a recruiter, and therefore you're going to be able to help them better. They're going to be more receptive to your advice. Therefore, you're going to be able to give them more opportunity, and that more opportunity is going to probably turn into more deals for you, right? And if you've helped them along the way, even bloody better. So that's what we have time for you today. As always, like, share, give us 5-star review. Really helps us grow. If you've got anything out of today's episode, please tell a friend, invite another person onto this podcast. It really is amazing. As always, have an amazing day, and may all your deals come true.